Alright, hello everyone, it's mysticjuicer back with some more Codex action, this time casting a game that I played in person a little while ago, well actually a long while ago. This was in December I believe, against a friend of mine, Matt. He is playing purple and going first on the right hand side, and I am playing green going second on the left hand side. So he opens up with Tinkerer. Purple is kind of constrained in terms of what it can do on as a first player in terms of how much pressure it can put on. It doesn't have any single cost units in its starter. So if you want to play a hero, and typically you do, then you're going to be in a position where you've got 2 money essentially floating, or 1 money, one money floating around because you just can't find any way to spend it. I'm opening with Calamandra and then Forest Favor to give her a +1/+1 token. So she is a 3/4 right out the gate. Really scary opener, I feel like. Calamandra, I love this hero. She's definitely my favorite hero in the entire cast, I think. I don't play green very often, but when I do, I typically prefer to play a Calamandra-based opener. She's got incredible stats. She does interesting stuff on all of her different bands. There's just so many things. She's just this weird combination of different abilities that I really, really like, and the stats are amazing. So what I'm teching is a centaur and a some other thing, a huntress or something like that, I think. Yeah. So huntress is a 3/3 for 2 with spark shot and anti-air. Purple does have a 1/1 flyer in its starter, so something that I do want to keep in mind. And Huntress is just a really nice aggressive card. I think if you have tempo, I would prefer to play a Huntress over a Centaur. Centaur is better stat-wise. So it is a 3 cost, so it's a little bit more expensive, but you get an additional point of health, which is, you know, nothing to sneeze at. A 3/4 on defense in squad lead is a heck of a thing to try to deal with for most colors and openers. And it's got overpower, so the idea is, you know, if it survives the initial attack, if your opponent is not able to deal with it, you counterattack and you probably 2 for 1, or you try to 2 for 1 something of theirs. So you know, either you just take out the squad lead, or you're able to blast past the squad lead and take out another defender. For Matt, for his part, he has not yet opened with a hero. He has put a Plasmodium into the future. That is a 2 cost 4/4 with forecast and haste, and he's going to immediately use the Tinker to take 1 time counter off. So I need to know that on his next turn, if I don't deal with the Tinkerer, that Plasmodium is definitely going to show up. And 4/4 on turn 3-ish is hard to deal with. Calamandra has incredible stats, but I do not want to tank, 4 damage onto Calamandra. I want her to be dealing damage and being aggressive for as long as humanly possible. He's also put a Fading Argonaut in the squad lead position, so that is a 2/3 with Fading. Fading 3 costs 2, really great stats, fantastic starter card. 2/3 for 2 is amazing, and Fading is almost a benefit for this card because it allows you to use temporal research to draw additional cards. There's no way that a 2/3 is going to survive more than, I guess it's what, 3 turns? Yeah, at any stage of the game. So, you know, it's kind of negligible as a downside. As for me, I'm going to build my Tech 1 this turn and do something. So I was looking at putting a Tiger Cub into play. I could also put the Playful Panda down instead. It's a bit more of a thin defense. It is a 2/2 though. If it does survive, it gives me a free wisp. Although the defense is definitely thinner. Okay, so I bring Calamandra to mid-band. That makes her a 4/5. So a little bit risky here. Only has to deal 3 damage to that. And then my options are I can either max band her, put her to turn her into a 5/6. Although at that point, I think he just feeds the Plasmodium into her and finds 2 damage some way. So I definitely want to try to defend instead. Playing the Playful Panda here to put a Wisp into play in the top position. So this defends pretty well against possible aggressive options on his part. The only thing it doesn't deal with is Forgotten Fighter. Forgotten Fighter will allow him to remove the Wisp immediately, but it does cover against plays that don't involve that card. So if he, for instance, just had the 1/1 flyer, can't remember exactly what that thing is called. He would not be able to, kill the Wisp with it and then blast through my patrol zone with the Plasmodium. The Plasmodium is going to come out this turn. That's guaranteed. He's going to spend the Tinker on it unless he. Oh, actually, no. That's right. He could. Yeah, if he uses the Flyer to deal with 1 damage to the Wisp and then uses the Tinker to kill it, then he's unable to. Bring Plasmodium to bear this turn. Unless he plays a hero and uses the, what is it, Temporal. No, it's not Temporal. Anyways. Can't remember exactly what it's called. It allows you to take a rune off something or put a rune on something. Okay, that's the card. I can never remember exactly what it's called. Is it Mistress? No. Shoot. Anyway, returns a 0, tech level 0 or 1 unit to its owner's hand. So yeah, that allows him to bounce the Wisp. He uses the Tinker to put the Plasmodium out. So he will be able to kill my hero. And I just reminded him that he should probably put a hero into play before he does that, just so he gets the free levels. Yeah, so he's definitely trading Plasmodium. That's a very good use of Plasmodium. Denies me my strongest defensive and offensive hero. I now have to pick between Argagarg, who's not much of a body. He only ever has 1 attack. And Midori, who is quite expensive to level. So Argagarg at least maxes out at 5. Midori, has a grappler body, so he only mid-bands at level 5. Does have better stats though. So starts out as a 2/3 and then becomes a 3/4 and then a 4/5. So it has Calamandra's progression in terms of stats, but is way more expensive. His mid-band ability isn't going to do me all that many favors either. See Matt teching some Shimmer Rays, so he is going for past here. Okay, do elect to go for Argagarg. Just want to kind of put a wall of units into play, essentially. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Something of the Undone. Stewardess of the Undone. There we go. So 3 for a 2/3, so pretty expensive. But yeah, that arrival ability is pretty sweet. So you can do some tech stuff to your own units if you want to return a friendly unit for whatever reason. You can return, for instance, a tech level 0. Oh, it's only tech unit 0 units, not tech 1. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so you could return a tech 0 unit that's outlived its usefulness and then instead play another thing or worker that or you know, get some... She essentially becomes a free card if you use it on herself for a little bit of tempo. So if you can attack with something that can survive, then return it, that's pretty great. So what I've done is I boosted the panda, flattened his mistress, or a stewardess of the undone. God, I've got that tick. It's a mistress's command, whatever, for whatever reason. Yomi has trained me to think in those terms. Okay, so pretty thin defense here. Not doing too much with the hero. Saving up a lot of money for the next turn though, so my transition to Tech 2 should be really, really smooth. I'm going to have 10 money. That's going to allow me to have 5 money left over to spend on stuff on the same turn that I go to Tech 2. That's not very typical. And he doesn't have a too worrying a board at the moment. Yeah, okay, so we've got both the Huntress, the Centaur, and a bunch of other stuff as well. Okay, so Matt for his turn is going to go ahead and put a Fading Argonaut out. Is going to go to Tech 2. He will worker in a second here. But he's at 8. There we go. Has not yet played any Tech 1 stuff. Oh, sorry, no, he had the stewardesses. That's right. But nothing that's survived. You know, he hasn't yet accumulated essentially any significant board presence. For my part, I'm guilty of the same thing. I've got Wisps, Arg, and a Playful Panda, which isn't massive stat-wise, right? It's a 2/2 that gives you an extra card that you probably put in the Technician slot, or you need it to, you know, you're playing a thin defensive game to try to hold on to stuff. But yeah, there we go. We've got 5 money left over after we worker here. Could have contemplated last turn building a Heroes Hall, which would allow me to play a hero and a centaur, which would be pretty strong tempo-wise. Definitely gives me a scary board. On the other hand, I think I'm going to play something with Bloom. Not sure if that's... Oh, sorry, Forest's Favor. Just to get rid of the Argonaut. Yeah, so Forest's Favor on the Panda becomes a 3/3. That's still not quite enough to clear the Fading Argonaut, but we can use Arg's starting band ability to give it +1 attack. Or sorry, it is a mid-band ability, yeah, so I do have to spend the money on that. This does delay my playing a Tech 1 unit. But again, it keeps his board small. I'm happy with that. He's just got the Tinker to play with. Panda is essentially a 3/3 spark. So it's essentially the Panda has become a Huntress. just happen to have haste on this turn. And it doesn't have Spark Shot, but he's not patrolling in such a way or pursuing a token strategy, so I'm not too mad at losing out on Spark Shot. Huntress would also have anti-air, but again, I'm essentially trading those abilities for haste. Be able to attack this turn and reduce his board. So we are 2 money away from max banding Arg. That's going to give us a 3/3 water elemental with anti-air. So that's another kind of push in the direction of of this line of play rather than putting a Huntress into play, because we do get that anti-air coverage relatively cheap. So what's the reasoning for putting the Wisp in the squad leader position and not in a scavenger slot? I'm not exactly sure. At this point, I suppose it's not unreasonable. I mean, he hasn't played with a hero yet, so at any point here, he can, put Geiger into play, play a unit, and then cast now, and that's a pretty scary situation. So I guess I'd rather, yeah, on the other hand, yeah, because then he'd be able to clear my Wisp with Tinkerer and then flatten something on the back row with that with the hasted unit. So it's just a bit of a hedge against that. So he's playing past spec here. Goes with Shimmer Ray. So very inexpensive unit. Flying, fading 2, you can discard a card to add a time rune to it, and it is a 3/4, so this is going to be kind of difficult for me to deal with. I have gone to balance, and I'm reasonably certain that I have put Mimic, Wandering Mimic into my Codex, or into my discard. Okay, so plays Stewardess of the Undone. That'll allow him to return my Panda to my hand. So this does give me an opportunity to spend a lot of money on this next turn and a lot of cards as well. Yeah, so going for Dino Size and Wandering Mimic. So Wandering Mimic to deal with flyers. And if he ever plays that hasted 1/1 flyer in his starting deck, then it's also going to give him haste. Or it's going to give me haste, I should say. Yeah, so Shimmering, is it Shimmering Ray? Shimmer Ray, yeah. Yeah, very, very inexpensive, and taking 2 slow time generators. Okay, interesting. Not a card I have seen tremendously often. So 5 cost, 2 health building. Each player's workers can't produce more than 4 money total during their upkeep. So the idea, I think, here with Slow Time Generator is the turn that you play it, if you have more than 9 money, you essentially get the last effective turn. So if you can push and control the board on the same turn that you play Slow Time Generator, your opponent is incredibly restricted in terms of what he can do to respond. So you have to do it with an advantaged board. Okay, so for my part, Rampant Growth on only Argagarg would be able to clear. No, even that is not sufficient. So Rampant Growth, 2-cost spell, unit or hero, +2 attack, +2 armor. So really brutal, right? Like, it gives you an incredible swing on any turn that you draw it and play it. So long as you have anything on the board with any kind of stats. Combine this with Overpower on a Centaur, and it just becomes horrifying to deal with. I don't have... Okay, so I'm rethinking what I'm doing here. I have the additional card this turn. I believe I'm up to 6 cards. Okay, yeah, putting Wandering Mimic into play. so that I have flying defense. Really good that I was able to draw into that so quickly after he played the Shimmering Ray. So as of right now, the only abilities it has are flying, so it is not going to be able to give me any kind of defense against ground forces. He has put Veer into play, so the equivalent to Midori on the purple side. He levels quite slowly. Okay, and the other thing, so I guess I've put the last round of teching, I put the second Wandering Mimic in. That is the Basilisk. The Potent Basilisk. 3/5, so an incredibly healthy unit. A lot of defense. I can't really use its Arrives ability, but it would be able to get rid of an upgrade or an ongoing spell, so if he had battle suits in play, I would get rid of that. Also untargetable, so he can't return it to my hand or deal with it with shenanigans. He's got to deal with it as a body on the board. And it's got Death Touch, so it's effectively got infinite damage output against units and heroes. And it's got a lot of health, and if it dies, it's going to give me money back. So this thing is going to do just an incredible amount of work. I'm drawing 5 cards, putting the Wisp into the Scavenger spot, or sorry, the Technician spot, so that if it does die for whatever reason, if he feels like killing it, I get to trade that in for some other more valuable card, and I can go up to 6 on my next turn, and so I can continue playing 2 cards at a time and still retaining that really, really rapid cycling through my deck. Okay, so does end up putting Prin into play, playing Temporal Research so that he can draw some cards. Prin is a really interesting hero. She's got a monster ability on her max band to essentially just remove an opposing unit or a friendly unit from the game while she's still alive. She gets really, really good stats at the end there, but she does have some difficulty in the early game just surviving and holding her own. So definitely something I think that you probably, unless you're playing a very specific line, I'm not very familiar with purple, but unless you're playing a very, very specific Prin-based strategy, unlikely that you're going to be playing her as your first hero. Okay, so the Shimmering Ray disappears. Because I no longer have flying, that means that he is able to deal with the Wandering Mimic with his unit on the ground. So it's kind of pro-con, right? If you wanted to attack the Potent Basilisk directly, he can, leave the flying unit in play until he wants to do that, and just bypass it completely. Or he can elect to just get rid of the Wandering Mimic, which is probably the smarter play. And there we go. So Slow Time Generator hits the board, and I don't know. This is a little greedy, I think, to play Slow Time Generator on this board. He has 2 heroes, and if he does, if he levels them, they are going to get very good stats, right? They both become 3/5s. But he's facing a Death Touch unit with 5 health. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's an equal board. I feel like this is too equal a board to play Slow Time Generator into. I think another unit instead would have been way more effective. Just another Shimmering Ray, just to deal with, to be able to deal 3 damage at a time to the Basilisk without losing a unit is probably a preferable option. But Matt's going for some weird strats, trying some stuff out. We both haven't played these colors very, very often. So just doing some weird stuff. Disobeying a direct order from his superior officer to, and I quote, just play units for your first couple games with a color. Okay, and putting in 2 cards. What is that thing called? Remember, I think? Yes, pretty sure. Yeah, 5 cost 3/3, so again, very expensive, especially if you're only making 4 money a turn. And whenever you remove a time room from Remember, you can put a unit with fading from your discard pile into play if you meet the text requirements. So yeah, okay. So it gives you your units for free. Past does have some pretty beefy stuff. So if you can cheat it into play, that's pretty sweet. And if you're teching, well, you know, that's a way of essentially putting it into your into play for free. So long as this Remember thing sticks around for a turn, it should pay pretty good dividends if you line things up. So clear the squad lead and then use to devastating effect the Death Touch ability. Gonna get me 2 free levels on, I think I put it on Calamandra, yeah, sense. We're still building workers even though we're at 10. Why not? Might as well thin deck. And then we will patrol in such a way as we get additional money. I'm not worried about any hasted stuff at this point. The only thing that I should be worried about is the 1/1 flyer. Okay, yeah, there's that beef. Yesterday's Golgort. 3 cost 6/4, fading 2, so it will disappear, just as everything that past has will disappear. Whenever you deal combat damage to a building, put a time rune on it. So long as you can be, you know, blasting your opponent's Tech 2, Tech 1 buildings, that's pretty good. It's also going to trade, you know, at least it's going to 1-for-1 the Basilisk. So that's the idea there. It's going to output 6 points of damage and at least get the thing off the board. But that is the only thing he can do because, again, slow time generator is hurting him as well as it does me. I think the idea that he was going for... The other thing about the slow time generator, though, is... so it's very win more, right? Like if you're already ahead, it puts you way ahead. Because the way that your opponent has to deal with it, if they are stuck behind, is they have to clear it. And if they do clear it, they've spent a turn, you know, generating 4 money, and you then immediately follow that up, the turn that it dies, with all of the money that you would generate from your workers. So it really can swing the tempo around to your end of the board. I think had he played or found the Golgort earlier and used that and then gotten to an advantage board state, this would be a very, very different story. So Dino Size comes out, making the Wisp a 6/7. So it doesn't even die. So Hero Wisp right over there, just like flexing on everything. Use the Potent Basilisk to clear his other hero, max band Calamandra, and then use both of the heroes attack his Tech 2, clearing his Tech 2, and now he is really in trouble. I have a full board. I'm going to retain everything, and he has 4 money to mount a defense. So he's essentially back to turn 1. Yeah, spends 3 of it to bounce the Wisp, so he at least clears the Wisp, but that is 1 unit in play on his end. Whatever he does, yeah, patrols it to get additional money. Okay, and does have 1 money left over for Shimmering Ray, even though he can't actually put into play this turn because his Tech 2 is destroyed. But this is essentially game. Without that error that he just made, I can continuously lock him down. The I mean, it's not really even going to save him here, but I'm just going to call the game there. Because for the rest of this game, I am going to put anything into play, clear whatever he plays with his 4 money with the Basilisk until it finally dies. But again, it is going to stick around for such an awfully long time. Yeah, there we go. So we did correct it. We'll see how things play out, but I'm pretty sure this just locks things down. So had we not caught that mistake, I would have just called it there. But again, the play here is if I have Bloom even, what I can do is keep my Basilisk alive and kill his Patroller, Bloom my Calamandra, and then trade into Tech 2. I can even, if I really, really want to, just give Calamandra Stealth and get past the Patroller that way. So, okay, so I do get rid of the Basilisk, but I do definitely have stuff that costs 4. Yeah, just play another one. There we go. So, essentially, my Basilisk had readiness and healed. And there goes Tech 2 again. And this is just an unwinnable position for him. He can't put anything into play cheaply enough to deal with all of my heroes. And even if he does, I can Stealth Calamandra. I can clear one of his Patrollers, Stealth Calamandra, boost her. Actually, can I boost her with Arg? No, I can only give a unit +1/+1. Okay, interesting. Okay, so he has a chance of getting his Tech 2 back. It's still going to be very difficult for him to recover or put up any kind of fight here. He has prevented me effectively from ever going to Tech 3 and using the 2 T-Rexes that I put into my Codex. But it's still a long road that he's got to travel. So we did start this this turn with 6 money. He was unable to spend 1 last turn, and I did kill his Scavenger. So spends 2 of it on Hero, 3 on 2/3, and yeah, that's just not going to be enough. So essentially, I'm going to roll this advantage into every subsequent turn. He is fighting to keep his Tech 2 alive and be actually able to play, but it's just not going to happen. So we're going to call, well, okay, no, let's play it out. Let's play it out. I can't remember exactly. I mean, I can't remember exactly how things end up. I suppose it's possible that he could stabilize. It's just going to be very difficult. Yeah, so I end up discarding 2 cards to give Calamandra Stealth, boost her, so I do get the Tech 2 building again. So once more, just restricting his ability to play efficient units that would allow him to better be able to stabilize. Yeah, clear his unit. And then I've got 2 money left, so probably Max Band Arg. No, okay, Huntress. So 3/3, anti-air, spark shot. So pretty good body. Arg in elite, so he is a 2/4. And Huntress also has resist 2 because of Calamandra's mid-band, giving resist 1 to all of my units. And she is in the lookout slot just in case he's found some way to deal with her. Again, just more bodies on the floor. Wish I could have had the centaur, but the centaur I would not have had enough money to actually play him, because overpower is more important, more valuable to me, especially with ARG being able to boost units, than spark shot is, because spark shot can be, my opponent's going to patrol in a couple of different slots, right? He's going to patrol very heavily in scavenger so that he gets as much extra money as he possibly can. He's going to patrol in squad lead because he wants the extra survivability. And that's basically it. On his turn, I think he retains 2 money. 2 money goes unspent. Puts the Fading Argonaut into play. And again, so I've put 1 thing into play. He has put 1 thing into play. He's not making any progress yet. So I can clear. Got a couple of ways of doing that. Easiest way is probably just to send. Okay, so I do it less efficient, I think, way. So attack with Huntress and boost with ARG. So that'll deal 4 damage necessary to kill his squad lead. Then I can use the Potent Basilisk to take out his hero. That gives me 2 free money. And because of ARG, that lets me put a 3/3 anti-air elemental into play. The really key thing about the elemental is that it's just by attacking, I was able to put a unit into play. And again, with Kalamandra, drew into yeah, and there we go. Call the game there. Drew into the rampant growth to be able to clear his Tech 2. And with more and more units coming into play, it's just not enough for him to be able to fight back. So he finally concedes. Yes, game 1. So well played. Hope you enjoyed watching that, and I'll come at you with some more Codex action just as soon as I can. So thanks for watching, and until next time, enjoy yourself some Codex.